Fixed it. Share. All right. Let me just test this here. Test, that's not working. Let's see here. Test now. Live. All right, yay, it's working. Live. Yay. All right, yay, it's working. Live. I suck at live streaming. Oh, man. All right. So now you guys can hear me. The first thing I said when I got on here, I'm like, man, I look haggard. These 4 a.m.s are killing me. All right, let me just say hello in the chat. You guys can hear. All right. Woohoo! Hey, Zoe. Paulo in the house. You got Zoe and Paulo. Who else is here? We had a couple more. Justin's here. All right. Now I'll tell you what. A full month of waking up at 4. I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not looking forward to 4 a.m. tomorrow. And I'm letting my hair grow, so I look like I was teasing that Jerome Powell looks like Shaggy. No, I'm looking like Shaggy. So looking a little haggard here tonight. But anyway, let's get this set up and let's get moving. So let me pull this up and let's do a little preview for the upcoming week. And it should be a good one. There we go. Let me make sure you guys can see the chart. Double check here. And I think we're good. Hang on. Full screen. All right, I think we're good. All right. So, happy Sunday, everybody. Let's just take a quick look at futures because they are up. We got some green here tonight, and we're looking forward to a fun week here. September is going to be over. We're going to start a brand new month on Wednesday. And if you watched my October preview, you saw that October is typically when market dips, market corrections, bear markets bottom. But this is all the dip that we get here in this market because we just keep pushing higher. And so who knows what will be in store for us this week. But again, futures are green right now. We just hop in here to 3 minute and see what's transpiring. Yeah, we're moving up. We did come down and retest that 50 here on the 3 minute, push back up, but looking like there's some strength coming in. And then just looking at Bitcoin, made a nice little move here from the lows that we came down to over the weekend in 109,000s. We're back up to 112,000. And then right now the Hang Seng index, this is your Chinese market index, it is up as well. So all signs point to potentially a bullish open for tomorrow. So that short-term dip that came in, that might be it. And it was 1.98%. I think that we dropped. Wasn't much of anything. And it looks like we could continue higher tomorrow. And just to preview the data that we're going to get for this upcoming week, we have a ton of Fed speakers, which their words will move the market a little bit, but really no major data on Monday that I'll be paying attention to. Tuesday, we are going to get JOLTS job openings at 10 a.m. And right now, the Fed is paying very close attention to what's happening in the labor market. So we will get a move off of JOLTS. Again, that's at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Again, some more Fed speakers. On Wednesday, we're going to get ISM manufacturing PMI. That's going to be at 10 a.m. as well. That's just insight into the health of the economy. So we will get a move off of that. So be ready for that. On Thursday, we get initial jobless claims. Again, we want to pay attention to right now anything we get related to the labor market, because that's going to dictate what the Fed is going to do. And in terms of rate cuts. So any weakness that we continue to see in the labor market, that's good for rate cuts. If the jobs are staying strong, then you might see those probabilities and chances of the rate cuts come down. Again, more Fed speakers. And then Friday's the big day for a couple reasons. Again, this is jobs week. The first week of every month is typically all the jobs data. But we're going to get non-farm payrolls, which is significant. But more importantly, we're going to get the unemployment rate. And if you remember back to Jerome Powell's press conference at the rate cut in September, he said that they expect the unemployment rate to get up to 4.5% by December. We're at 4.3 right now. There's a chance we're going to see an uptick in that, and that could put some pressure to the downside on the market. So just be prepared for that. Again, that's coming at 8:30 on Friday. And then we're going to get the ISM services that'll come in at 10 a.m. So that's just more insight into the economy. So quite a bit of data to pay attention to this week. So make sure you're ready. Let's take a look at the broader markets, and let's take a look at the SPX. And the interesting pattern that's playing out here that I pointed out in my charting this weekend is that recently the pullbacks that we've been getting moves down below the 10, but then what happens is we get bought back up, we make new all-time highs. We come down below the 10, we get bought back up, we make new all-time highs. We come back down below the 10, we get bought back up, we make new all-time highs. You get the picture. We came down below the 10, we pushed up, and are we going to repeat the pattern, or are we forming some type of topping process to when we're going to come down? We don't know, but the market is still due for more selling. And if we just measure this out, you could see that this dip from the all-time highs to the low of that wick, 1.96%, that's nothing. A true dip would be about 5%, which would bring us down to 63.5897, and a really good effective dip for buyers to really step in would be 10%. That would bring us down to that 200 SMA on the daily. But it just doesn't seem likely, because the bulls are continually buying this market up, pushing it up. And there's a lot of liquidity in the markets right now. So it looks like we're going to open higher tomorrow based on the futures. Again, things can change in the blink of an eye, but these bulls are they're strong. Don't forget that we still have that government shutdown looming. That would be some short-term pressure to the downside on stocks, but it is something that we need to be aware of, especially as we're day trading. If we take a look at the Qs, good volume came in. We got back above the 10, buying pressure with that lower wick. But again, little tiny dip. The Dow Jones Industrial DIA, this rising wedge, we broke out of it. And you had this nice shooting star candle that caused that weakness to come in. Let's measure this dip out here. Again, a paltry 2%, not much of anything. But watch this pattern here, because breaking out of that rising wedge does typically signify some weakness here. You've got some support on the VRVP at 456 down to 454. So that would be a potential bouncing spot. Then you have the 50 below there, thin volume. But it doesn't look like it's going to come down lower just based on what we're seeing right now. IWM, similar type of setup. Shooting star at an all-time high, came down out of that rising wedge. And interestingly with IWM is it's on Friday, it retested the bottom of that. Some some of the evening trading, overnight trading that's going on right now in Interactive Brokers, it shows that IWM is up. So again, all signs point to tomorrow that we're going to open higher. And then if we just take a look at the 10-year, we could see that we're getting a little bit of a bounce up here. I'm looking for a retest of this trend line that I had drawn out that started in April, and see if we retest and then head down lower. And then the VIX, we had this big fat bearish bar that came in. So the volatility dropped, and all signs point to continued buying tomorrow. Now, again, things can flip on a dime, but a 2% dip seems to be satisfactory for these bulls to buy it up. And it looks like we're in a position that we can see some moves coming in tomorrow. So it kind of sets the stage of what we're looking at. But it should be a fun week. And I do have some charts that I will be paying attention to this week for day trades, one for a swing trade, and I'll share those with you guys. If you have charts that you want me to take a look at for you, just go ahead and drop those in the chat. And with that said, let's get into some tickers. And some that I really like here. Amazon is, I think, in a really nice position. It came down to this 100 simple moving average on the daily where it's kind of sticking, and you had this indecision spinning top candle that came in here. What I'd like to do is to be able to catch this down at the 200 if we can get some weakness, and it could fall a little bit, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So this swing trade setup that I'd like to take, I probably won't get an entry, but this is a nice buying spot. And even if I can't set the swing trade up, I will be day trading Amazon starting tomorrow, because I do think there's some good upside opportunity here. Obviously, this 10-day SMA here on the chart at 224.64 would be first point of resistance. But notice how thin this volume is here on the VRVP. If we can get through that, we have room up to 228, which also lines up with that 50. So I am watching Amazon for some day trade opportunities tomorrow. It is up there on my list. And again, I don't think I'll get that swing trade opportunity to 200 with everything that's happening right now as we speak with the futures. Let's see. We got some chart requests here. Wolf, Sound, BBAI, and RR. So let's go. Let's start with Wolf. And I already know Wolf's chart because it's committed to memory here. But we do have this trend line that's been established from this lower wick from August 14th. And notice after we had that nice little push up to 1070, we came back down, retested it, and you had really two touch points in that vicinity. Push back up, we made a recent high of 1181. You can see these upper wicks here dropping this down, and then the bull stepped in back on this trend line. And so let's see if this is going to bounce and push out of here, or if it would break through. So look for a bounce on Wolf tomorrow if this trend line is going to hold and be of any significance. If it breaks down through, this thing could drop down to the $9.30 range. But Wolf does have some more upside left to $13 before we would get any type of meaningful pullback. So that's what I'm watching for. And just to get some perspective on this thing, its all-time high is way far away, and that's 4406. That was probably in 2021. Yeah. So definitely some room there on Wolf. We also have Sound, good old Sound Hound for my man Paulo, because I know he loves himself some Sound Hound. All-time highs back in December of last year, 2503. But the structure that we're building out here, higher highs, right? And there is a trend line. I don't know why I don't have it drawn on here, but just a little bouncing area. If we can come down and test this and push up, and let's see if we keep recreating that same pattern here, where push up, new recent high, drop down to the trend line, push back up, drop down. Let's see if we touch this trend line and go back up. I think a new all-time high by the end of December is likely for Soundhound. But again, we just got a little bit of a dip here, just following what it's done here in the past. So definitely still think there's some room here, but let's see if it wants to come down and test this trend line around 1550. What else do we have here? BBAI. BBay. I like to make silly dad jokes to make myself laugh. I really look like a dad tonight. Sometimes I forget that I'm getting older and it stinks. Where's BBI? I think I took it off my charts, actually. BBAI. I cleaned my charts up a little bit this weekend. All right, so here's BBAI. So very clear resistance that's in place right around 850. And you can see every time we've touched into this area back here on July 8th, we pull back down, push back up into this area on the 21st, created this double top pattern, came down, and then the earnings drop, bought back up, came down, tested that 200, pushed back up again. And what happened? Retested down here into the 10. And so let's see if this 10 is going to hold. You do have the 50 below it if it wants to come a little bit further, a little thin on the VRVP. But maybe things will want to push back up with what we're seeing here in futures. But again, this resistance is pretty strong at 858, and we're getting a little retest here on BBAI. RR, I took that one off my chart too. I'm trying to keep my charts clean. Rich Tech, or I still have RR on here. Here we go. So again, this one has had a really nice move since August 22nd. Just measure this out. You know, this is run about 188%. So that's a pretty big move. And, you know, after making this recent high of 572, you did have some pretty big profit taking coming in, probably some shorts piling in, got below the 10, closed on that 10 on Friday. You did see the bearish volume dip a little bit. We came down from being overbought. I don't really like this setup here, but the thing that's hanging out there with RR is the business that they signed the contract with to provide their robots to for usage. We don't know if that's Walmart or what the corporation is, and that could be revealed at any time. And if that is leaked and does get out there, and if it is a Walmart, you could see a pretty big push up. But what I would watch here in the interim is this upper wick here that we had on August 27th, 386, which we almost came down to. But let's see tomorrow if we come down and touch that price area or get below it and then start to grind up. You'll have a little bit of resistance there at 445. But if it could break through that volume node, then you could start potentially coming back up and retesting these recent highs that RR put on the charts. And then we also have, oh, I guess I hit all the charts for Paula, man. I went through those pretty quickly. Zoe, I hit sound. CoreWeave, yes, CoreWeave. Let's take a look. I was looking this chart. I actually like this chart. Why do I like this chart? Can anybody out there tell me? What do I like about that? Paul, you're welcome, sir. What do I like about this chart? I'm quizzing you guys. Double bottom, yes, sir. But more importantly, we are retesting the neckline of that double bottom. And it happens to be right at this point of control here and this thick volume node on the VRVP. So there could be a nice opportunity here. And it's also sitting on the 100. So there could be some good day trade opportunities here. So keep an eye on this one, but that's a nice setup. You got multiple pieces of evidence that say that this thing could push higher. Now, I know that this big bearish candle doesn't necessarily engender confidence, but just this structure here, double bottom, retest of the neckline, sitting right on the 100, on the point of control, on the VRVP. Keep an eye on this one for tomorrow for some day trades. And actually, I actually like this even better looking at it for the second time. So I'm going to put it up here next to Amazon because that chart does look pretty good. So Zoe, thanks for making me look at that one again, because that's a nice looking chart. UNH. I was looking at UNH too this weekend, and I drew out what potentially could happen here. So we still have this gap to fill right here at 376.93. So that's going to be the next point of resistance. But it almost looks like we're getting an inverted head and shoulders that's coming into place here. Right. So that's why I have the blue line drawn on my chart. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback here into the 100, into this point of control. And then from there, getting a bounce and coming up and filling that gap. And remember, guys, this stock was at $604, actually higher than that, $631. And that was back in November. So there's a lot of upside still left on this stock. I don't think it's going to happen right away. But if you can get a retest, and this would take some time for it to retest this far, but if you can get a retest back down into this point of control and what would be the 100, there is an opportunity for a nice push higher and filling that gap. So that's a one to pay attention to as well on UNH. FIG for Justin. I like this one too, because we still have this unfilled gap up here at 65.46. Looks like we are starting to get a little bit of some bottoming that's taking place. You can see the volume starting to dip, sitting on these large volume nodes here. And I have drawn out what I'd like to see is we form a double bottom pattern here, fill this gap. That would be a nice move on FIG. And HIMS, man, if you would have played this double bottom that I pointed out a ways back and got in at that $45 range, you would be up $13.40. And just when things started to look bleak on this little retest into the 100, into the 50, what happens? The bulls step right back in, drive it up. Nice bullish engulfing candle here. If you can close above this wick on this candle from September 19th, that 59.34, you're going to squeeze some more bears, and all-time highs of 72.91 are definitely on the table. So definitely more upside potential here on HIMS. And I like this chart. I like that candle from Friday. So that's looking pretty good. And then Justin says, do you think the XRP credit card will be enough for a huge price change? So, oh, look, Bitcoin's dropping. Let's see, approval. I'm not super familiar with the XRP credit card. I haven't been reading about that news. Again, I just buy Bitcoin, XRP, ETH, and Cardano for my long-term portfolio. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that news, but anything like that can be a catalyst for crypto or stocks. So can it potentially cause a move higher? Yes. But I don't know enough on it to speak on it. But a positive catalyst like that always typically tend to lift assets. And in this case, it could do the same for XRP. But all of crypto, really, you're getting this nice little pullback. You do have a nice support established here on XRP. It could be ready for a bounce. When I was doing my charting this weekend, that's what it looked like to me. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. We got an Intel request. So Elisa Baker says, reclaim the 50-day. Yes. Elisa, welcome to the live stream. I look a bit disheveled tonight. So if this is your first time showing up, I typically look a little bit more awake and lively and have my hair combed. Let's see here. What do we got here? Intel. Let's take a look at Intel. I don't follow Intel too closely, but man, it has had a pretty crazy move. All right, so let's take a look at Intel here on the daily. I mean, look at this gap up we had here. So boom, big gap up. hit an intraday high here of 32.36, and this was after the news about NVIDIA investing in Intel. And then you had a nice little pullback here. And, if you got in on that little retest, then you were rewarded handsomely because news came out either Thursday or Friday that Intel is asking Apple to invest in them. So they're just asking for investments all around. And there's no news on whether or not Apple is actually going to do that. But notice how you had a nice uptick in volume, and this retest just provided a nice push higher. It closed at 35.50 on Friday. So those are pretty decent moves, but just keep an eye here on Intel being overbought at this point. So it probably has to cool off a little bit. It's almost an indecision type candle here. We don't have a lot of volume up in this range. So we could get a little bit of a retest or maybe just some chop sideways down into these volume nodes on the VRVP before going higher. But we have yet to see. So let's see if we get any news about an Apple investment into Intel, if there's any truth to that or if that will play out. But a really nice move for Intel because this thing has just been doing a whole lot of nothing for quite some time. I mean, look at this consolidation, right? Just sideways movement since August 2024, this huge gap down off the flash crash. So this thing definitely can continue to pick up steam. And we filled that gap from the flash crash. And then this high from, July 17, 2024, that'd be the next area of resistance I'd be watching at 37.20. You'd probably have some profit taking happening there, some shorts piling in. And then in terms of an all-time high on Intel, you're looking up to 75.57. And if you do start to see those companies investing in Intel, that would definitely be bullish. And notice this too. No, never mind. Okay. I was getting my moving averages. I almost thought we had a golden cross forming here on the monthly, but that's not a golden cross. Actually, the 50 is coming down to the 200. Weekly candle looks strong. Monthly candle looks strong. On the daily, we did get a golden cross on the daily back in August 14th. But this one's worth keeping an eye on. Watch for some sideways consolidation. Watch for some rejection in 37.20. But this thing could continue to squeeze higher. Tesla, you're welcome, Justin. Tesla, Oracle, Baba. All right, Tesla, Oracle, Baba. Tesla. So nice move on Tesla on Friday. Again, we're just kind of moving sideways here. So there's interest at these prices. We did come down after being overbought. We started to curl back up on Friday on the RSI. The volume's been pretty stable. The next big catalyst for Tesla is its earnings report, which is estimated to be October 15th. October is not a kind month to Tesla, but Musk recently just bought a ton of shares of Tesla, which shows his confidence in the company. A lot of people are speculating that there could be an announcement related to the autonomous driving and the Optimus robots. So we'd have to pay attention to that. And just keep in mind, when Tesla runs, Tesla runs. So, this is after all this sideways movement, we finally broke out. So we want to see, can we get back up here to 487? We're not that far away. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing just continue to push up. The call option flow on Tesla last week was insane. And they were significant out of the money calls, 550s, even 800 plus. So if you're seeing that much enthusiasm come in, this one can continue to run. And yeah, but just watch because very thin on the VRVP, can drop pretty quickly, but definitely looking good so far. Oracle. Elisa, you're welcome. Oracle. I get so mad looking at this chart and this gap up because I wasn't in the trade. So this is hard for me to look at this one. But anyway, Oracle. So just take a look here. We're in this thin area on the VRVP where it could move pretty quickly down here. And you do have this 50 simple moving average, which lines up with a next thick volume node on the VRVP where it could bounce. And then if we were to get a gap fill, that would take us down to 243.86. That would be quite the move down from the high that it made off that gap up on earnings from 345 to 67. So I don't know how likely that gap fill is. So I would look for this thing to reclaim the 10-day moving average first. But to see it come down and give away all those gains that quickly just wouldn't make sense. So I would expect a little bit of a recovery first on Oracle before coming lower and retesting. That just would not jive with their earnings report and their future guidance. So I think this is just some profit taking, some fear that came in off that dip. So I think we reclaim the 10 tomorrow. And then Baba. Let's take a look at Baba. All right, so Baba has had a really strong move as well. So this thing really found some support and bottom on August 28th, and it started its run, pushed up, retested into the 10, and it's just been pushing higher. You had this sideways movement here that started on September 17th through the 23rd and then gapped up because I think they announced some type of partnership with NVIDIA. Let's see. Where is it? I can't find it here, but there was some news about, I forget what it was, but there was some news with some connection or some investment from NVIDIA into Baba. So you had this nice push up. You did get a shooting star, which gave us a little bit of a retracement. And I think there's room higher here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a retest down into the 10. And if we get that, then look for a continued push higher. But Baba has been looking strong along with a lot of the Chinese stocks. So, and that is a new all-time high there on Baba. So that's where we are. I hope the charting was helpful for you guys. Again, just take one more quick look here at Bitcoin. A little bit of profit taking right at that 10-day and right at that volume node on the VRVP. Futures are still up. We're up 15 points right now. All signs point to continuing to move higher tomorrow. But a lot can happen overnight. So let's see how we open. But for right now, we're green. Again, the tickers I'm watching, Amazon. The last thing I want to cover, this is the swing trade I'm going to set up tomorrow if I can get a nice entry here. This is Occidental Petroleum, ticker symbol OXY. If I can get this cheaper, I'm going to try and do that. But I do like this because we're about to get a golden cross here on the daily with the 50 crossing up through that 200, and we're above all the moving averages. And so I think there's a nice opportunity for a swing trade if you're patient, especially because oil has been a laggard across the board. Now, if we go over to the weekly, you can see that we do have resistance at 53.16 on that 100-day simple moving average on the weekly. So we'll definitely be watching that to take some profits at that point. And then the monthly, we'll have to watch 50.72. So we do have some longer term moving averages on the weekly and monthly that we have to watch, but I really like the setup on the daily and that golden cross. So this is a swing trade I am setting up this week. Again, I have the entry set up there at 48.67, but if I can get in lower, I'm going to do that. But that's the last trade that I wanted to share with you guys. All right. Thanks for being here. If you can go check out a video tonight, if you have some time to chill and relax, I would appreciate that. Subscribe if you already haven't. Drop a comment. It does mean a lot to me. I love doing this, love sharing this with you guys. And let's get out there and crush it. This should be a great week. Brand new month on Wednesday, 23 trading days in October. I'm so ready. Let's make it happen. And I will see you guys back here for the next live stream. Thanks so much for joining me. And I promise I'll look more presentable next time. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great night.